I'll be giving you some of the documents so that you can be able to follow as I talk. When I reach a certain document, I'll distribute it. You know, I don't have enough copies. You are many, so you may just have to share a little bit here and there. Okay, from the documents that I have, you go through it so that if there are questions that you want to ask, you can ask me on this evidence that I have. But good. So now we can start, and I thank you for coming here, and I'm here to give you what I strongly believe is evidence pointing to the fact that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema should actually not be in politics. He should not be aspiring for presidency. Rather, he should be in jail. This is the evidence that I have is pointing in that direction. Now, I know that, you know, a number of you have got mixed feelings over this. I'm aware of that. But I want to tell you that some of you who have followed me, from the word go in this office, I have been a man that has been fighting corruption. When I was in Zambian Voice, I have been fighting corruption. So this is not about one particular individual. I've got a number of people that I have spoken about. Some of them have even taken me to court. And these people are not just in the opposition. If anything, more are in the ruling party. My object as a politician, a new kid on the block, a guy that has come to change the way politics is done, my issue is that people who have got questionable characters with backgrounds which is dented should not be in politics. I am going to contest in 2021 next year. I'm going to contest. And I want to make sure that those who will be competing, those who will be contesting, are not criminals. I don't want to contest with criminals. I don't want to contest with corrupt people. I don't want people who are compromised to be on the ballot next year. So this is my agenda. So don't be mistaken. I really want to make sure that we remove those bad guys and they don't contest elections next year. This is my object, and this doesn't mean only those in opposition. Even Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu, if there is the evidence that he too is dented, I don't want him on the ballot. It will even be nicer not to have him. So this is the object. This is the object, and this is where I stand, even as a party. Our party, we want to make sure that we fight corruption. Look, Zambians, there is no way we are going to have progressive and meaningful change if we will keep on having bad leadership, if we keep on having people who are corrupt. I know a lot of you are frustrated with the President Edgar Lungu and his government, and you want change. But that change shouldn't be to bring in wrong people again. How are we going to have change? We keep on repeating the same people. Today he's in the ruling party, you are saying he's corrupt, and so on and so forth. The following day, he jumps out of the ruling party, he's attacking the ruling party, you say he's a good leader. How? How? These are the same people. Some of you in here, when I started the issue of Bakambwili, right in this boardroom, some of you were saying, no, what, Kambwili, what? But you are forgetting that Bakambwili was in the ruling party. And the cases that I brought, that I took to court, were not when Bakambwili was in opposition. It was when Bakambwili was in the ruling party. And today Bakambwili is a convict. And yet you are saying, no, this is the Messiah. How? How, Mwiwandu? How are we going to change this country if we are going to have this mentality? Some of you say, no, you favor Edgar Lungu. Believe you me, I am telling you, I swear upon my living God. If Edgar Lungu, if you have evidence against Edgar Lungu, I will come and sit on this chair in this office and say it as it is. I will not spare him. I will not let my conscience be betrayed just because he's in office, if indeed there is corruption. The problem that we have is that we usually run with, innuendos, speculations. That's what we run with. If there is evidence of President Edgar Lungu being involved in wrong things, for me, I will definitely go for him. At the moment, I don't have tangible evidence to say President Edgar Lungu is corrupt. I don't have it. And I'm saying, if you have something, please bring it. But it has to be good evidence, like the evidence I have here. It has to be good evidence. Because at the end of the day, like HH was saying, I mean, if you say something that you cannot substantiate, you are in trouble. I don't want to be in trouble. I don't want to be in trouble. Yes, I have issues with President Edgar Lungu in terms of fighting corruption. He approaches corruption with kid gloves. And I have a problem there. I have a problem there. There are a number of ministers that I'll tell you, and these are in PF ministers today. Because you like to say, no, you only attack the opposition. But some of the names I've mentioned before, they are in government. They are ministers. And I've had issues with them. And my writing is on social media. That's why I write on social media, because I want, even when I'm long gone, people will be able to go to my page and say, this is what he said. So for me, I am very balanced in approaching corruption issues. When I'm talking about Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, it is out of the evidence that I have. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema should not, and I repeat, should not be aspiring for presidency. I think he should be in jail. And why do I say that? I say this out of the evidence that I have. Because I've met people, I've spoken to people, alive, flesh and blood people, not at ghosts. They have come to complain how Mr. Hakainde Hichilema got them out of their houses, how Mr. Hakainde Hichilema kicked them out of their employments, how Mr. Hakainde Hichilema has not paid them as people who used to work for some of the companies that were privatized. At the moment, I can give you one example, because I'm saying I want to talk with evidence. I'll give you one example. I've got a number of cases that I've been looking at, but today I'm just going to give you some of the issues that I'm going to the Anti-Corruption Commission, to the police, and make sure that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is prosecuted. In my course of going around checking for this evidence, it has come to my attention that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema has 2 NRCs. This is what I've obtained, and I'm giving it to the police to investigate. There is an NRC, and take note of the NRC. I want to mention these NRCs. The NRC, there is one which is 26 17 86 stroke 72 1. And another one, 12, 88, 73, stroke 72, stroke 1. These NRCs are all pointing to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. I am a whistleblower in this instance, and I want the police to investigate. I want the police to investigate. Me, in my investigations, as I was going around looking for this, looking for that, going to the Ministry of Lands, going to Zambia Development Agency and other, I've come out that there are these 2 institutions, and I'm confused. I'm confused. Go to Unza, the names are also not appearing. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm wondering, who is Mr. Hakainde Hichilema? I am lost on his identity. Unza, if you go there, you will see different names. From the names that we know him in the political circles. NRCs, I'm seeing 2 NRCs. 2 NRCs, and some of these, both NRCs are attached to some properties. This is how I came to find out. Because you do a search, Hakainde Hichilema, I had so many names attached to certain properties, but the NRCs are differing. So I'm confused. What's going on? Who is who here? Who is Mr. Hakainde Hichilema? And for me, this is a point of investigation. I want the police to investigate on the identity of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. To my fellow Zambians, just on that issue of identity, I don't know what you think. But if you have a person that cannot clearly identify himself, how can you trust such a person? Just there, if you have a person that cannot clearly identify himself, what are we talking about? He was Hakainde Sami Hichilema at Unza. When did he drop the Sami name? What is going on? What about these 2 NRCs I'm finding out? What's going on? I am taking this to the police, and I believe I am not mad. I am not foolish. This is a very genuine case. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema wants to occupy that big position to be citizen number 1. Now, if you want to be citizen number 1 and we cannot identify you, how can that be? I don't hate Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. These are facts. These are facts. I've given you the NRC numbers. Go and check them. You will find that they are got the same name. Same, I mean, everything. It's pointing Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. What's going on? I want to know. Go to Unza. You'll find that, I mean, if you check his computer number, the names are different. Anyway, moving on. Let me come to privatization. I have said that there are people who were deprived of their properties, who have not been paid, who were kicked out of employment in the name of privatization. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not joking. I am not being malicious. I have spoken to these people. I have seen how they are suffering. Some of them, if you see them, you would actually feel pity. There is one house. There is one house. There is one house, plot number. You take note of this. There is one house, plot number 77/A/609 on Polar Avenue in Cheston, Lusaka. This house used to belong to Zimco. It used to belong to Zimco, and the occupant of that house, the tenant, the sitting tenant, at the time they were privatizing Zimco, was Mr. S. Jerry. This Mr. S. Jerry, and just before I go on, I want to show you, I've got a list. This is a list of houses which were sold by Zimco. I will distribute this this document. I'll distribute this document. Here there are names, not just the person that I'm talking about, but all the names, all the houses which were sold. Okay, and this particular person I'm talking about is actually on page 2, number 58. Number 58. You will see the house number that I've mentioned here, 77/A/609, Polar Avenue, Cheston, and it was offered to Mr. S. Jerry as a sitting tenant, as a former worker of Zimco. At so this, I'll put it there. This is out. You will look through it. It's real. And for those people, I want also to make an appeal that for those who are on this list, this list I will post it even on my page. I know there are some people who were treated in the same way like Mr. S. Jerry. I want them to come forward because they are my witnesses. They are my witnesses. So all those who are on this list, if you were deprived in the same way that Mr. S. Jerry was deprived his house, I want you to come forward. And accompanied, because I'm saying it was offered to Mr. S. Jerry. You might think that I'm joking. Here is an offer letter. This is an offer letter to Mr. S. Jerry. This one. It's an offer letter. And the name is there on the list, together with others. You know? Yeah, it's actually M. Jerry. Plot number, whatever, Paul Avenue, whatever, dear, whatever, and you see it. And it was offered to this man to be bought at 19.8 million. 19.8 million. That is what was offered to him. By that time, it was non-based. Okay, so 9.8 million. Mr. M. Jerry was given that offer and that later, and he actually paid for it. And I have a receipt. He actually paid for it. He actually paid for it. He paid it through SP Mulenga. SP Mulenga were the lawyers who were appointed by, to be receiving money and so on and so forth. So he paid through SP Mulenga. Now, what happened thereafter? Mysteriously, that house was bought by Mr. Hakainde Hichilema at 31,000. Now, how did it happen? Here is a printout from the Ministry of Lands. Here is a printout. On page 2 of this, on the second page, you will see Mr. Hakainde Hichilema there, and the change of title, certificate being offered, and at 31,000. How did Mr. Hichilema buy this house? How? Mr. Hichilema never worked for Zimco. He never worked for Zimco. And we have an offer letter to the sitting tenant, and we have a receipt of this sitting tenant buying the house, paying for the house. Later on, we have a house in the name of Mr. Hichilema, buying it at 31,000. I have checked and I have been told, I found out that Mr. Norman Mbazima, who was the co-liquidator, offered the house to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. And he bought it at 31,000. Depriving the sitting tenant, the former worker of Zimco. How did Mr. Norman Mbazima offer the house to Mr. Hakainde Hichilema? If you check around, you find that Norman Mbazima and HH, they are very close people. They are very close people. Mr. Norman Mbazima, from there, he even ended up being the deputy chairman of Anglo-American. And Anglo-American is believed to be one of the strongest sponsors of Mr. Hichilema and the UPND. So you see the connection. These are not fiction. These are real things. Here are the facts. Here is a printout. Mr. Hichilema is there, having had bought this house at 31,000. This is what is showing. And I'm wondering, how come? And these people who are being deprived is not the only one. I know there are other people. There is one person, Mr. Norman Mbazima, who I'm sure, wherever he is, he will remember that there is one person in Kwacha Road who also wanted to be treated the same way. He had to go to Ronald Penza by then, because he was lucky he was connected to Ronald Penza. So he went to Ronald Penza, and Ronald Penza wrote a letter which I have, telling Norman Mbazima to say, no, don't do that. He's the owner of the house. Give him the house. And that's how he was saved. Otherwise, his house would have also been gone. Now, Zambians, honestly, is this kind of things that we are going to allow just because we are frustrated? We say, no, this is our Messiah with this kind of background. I am bringing out this, and I'm taking it to Anti-Corruption Commission. I want the Anti-Corruption Commission to look into this, because how did it happen that Mr. Hichilema, who was never a worker for Zimco, who was not a sitting tenant in that house, ended up buying a house, depriving this man? I want the Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate this. This is one of the cases that I'm taking to the Anti-Corruption Commission. These printouts were taken some time back. But just the other day when I went to the Ministry of Land to check on this house to get a printout, there are dubious entries. There are dubious entries on that. If you go and get a printout today, what you see, it's not making sense. So I am issuing a serious warning to those people who work at the Ministry of Lands, because there is also too much corruption there. There is too much corruption at the Ministry of Lands. A lot of people are mysteriously losing properties. From nowhere, Walikala, with your title, all of a sudden there is another person with another title on your property. How? How is this happening? And this is a clear example that I have, because a printout, that is a printout from the Ministry of Lands. That's a printout which was done some time back. I go there just the other day, the printout is showing something else. How? This is the same ministry, and some details are just, I mean, you would think that it's a different house. You know, when I went there, I'm like, is this the same house? I went to my source. I said, no, I think you gave me a wrong whatever. And he said, no, it's a real one. It's the same. Same property. There is a lot of corruption going on at the Ministry of Land, and myself, we want to make sure that such corruption is gotten rid of. When you have a title, you're supposed to feel secure. You're supposed to be okay to say, I have a property. We shouldn't have a situation where people with influence, people with money, taking advantage and just grabbing properties from citizens. I can't allow that. That's not why I'm in politics. I'm here in politics to finish this kind of nonsense. Anyway, that is one house. Nafumako, I'm moving. By the way, file mfuika, file panga sensi. Muna kuti wanjimi nikatseksi, ngatapali fumwe mwamona tapangile sensi. Atapo wabe, I am a document, so po yalia. Mwala pita mweka. I will even post them on social media. I will even post them on social media. And let me move to another property. There is another property. Farm number 1924. Farm number 1924, which is in Kalomo, Southern Province. This property belongs to the late Samson Siatembo. This property, farm number 1924, belongs to the late Samson Siatembo, and it is in Kalomo. What is the issue on this property? This property was mortgaged to Lima Bank. It was mortgaged to Lima Bank around the 1989. It was on mortgage to Lima Bank. When Lima Bank was being liquidated, and you remember who were the liquidators, it was Grant Thornton. It was Grant Thornton. So when Lima Bank was being privatized, this property was still under mortgage under Lima Bank. Today, as we speak, this property is owned by Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. I want to show you, this is the mortgage, because in Sri Lanka, tema evidence yabakambuira kwati lesavaila on the corridors of the court. If we to evidence, mortgage. This is the mortgage. It was under Lima Bank. Now we want to say Samson Tembo and Lima Bank Limited. 1989. Lima Bank goes into privatization. Afterwards, in 19, so there we have the evidence is there. Afterwards, in 2004, this property changed into Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. And even today as I speak, it is still in Mr. Hakainde Hichilema's name. If you check, I checked on some of the documents as far as I could go to check if Mr. Hakainde Hichilema declared interest. There is nothing. There is nothing. And this time around, when Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was changing the property, conveying this property into his name, he was actually the managing partner of Grand Tonton. How did Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, how did he acquire this property when he was a liquidator? I'm not giving the details, I have all the details. But I want him to respond. Because he's saying, no, I never took advantage. I want him to respond. You are right. I'm asking, farm number 1924 in Kalomo, how did you acquire it when it was mortgaged to Lima Bank, which you were privatizing, which you were liquidating? How? These are clear facts. I don't hate Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. It's not personal. It's not personal. I don't know. So there is nothing like hatred here. It's facts speaking for themselves. Even if we go, I want to see Madame Aloyaba. Keep member. I want to see them. I want them to see. I want to see how they are going to exonerate Mr. Hakainde Hichilema of this. I want to see. And I'm telling you some of these things. Even if you have an emotional attachment to a person, facts speak for themselves. Like they did Muniba Kambui. He can say whatever he wants, accuse a judge, the magistrate and anything. But at the end of the day, facts speak for themselves. There is a maxim, whatever, but let me not go there. But facts speak for themselves, and here, facts are speaking for themselves. Facts are speaking for themselves. There is now, I'm giving you, this is the document which shows now that Mr. Hichilema is the owner. That is a transfer. I'm putting it there. I know they are friends of the HH has got also some friends in the media. Please get this and take to him. I mean, it's a fact. Yeah, it's a fact. Take this to him and let him start organizing his defense. Because the Anti-Corruption Commission, they need to act on this. They need to act on this. And I want to see the logical conclusion of these matters. These matters are very serious. I went further to even look at that house in Kablonga. I went further to look even in that house at Kablonga. But I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to be seen like in there for my one and our. I'll leave it for now, but I will present it before the Anti-Corruption Commission. So Mamdala HH, when you are summoned, because they have to summon you. Otherwise, I'm going to place mandamas on the Anti-Corruption Commission. If the Anti-Corruption Commission, they don't act on this one, I'm going to place mandamas on them so that they can make sure they call HH. Chilufya Tayali, no, he's the largest opposition leader, no, whatever. A crime is a crime. A crime is a crime. Corruption is corruption. It doesn't matter who commits it. No matter how big you are, no matter how popular you are, no matter how much money you have, we have got only one law. And me, I operate on the fact that we are all equal before the law. We are all equal before the law. So bamdala ba HH don't kumbola kamubili finangu kachepeshani. The fact is we are all equal before the law. Ba GBM wali no mubili. But we are all equal before the law. So HH, if HH has committed crimes, me, I don't want to hear the issue to say, no, he's the biggest opposition, we can't touch him. Poor people are being arrested for stealing chicken. In Salamu Ikatomuntu, he goes and picks a chicken from the neighbors. He's arrested and he's sent to jail. Why do we want to make excuses for the rich people? Why do you want to make excuses for Kambwili? Your heart is whatever. Even, how many people are being jailed every day? Why should I have a heart for Kambwili? Why? We are all equal before the law. And especially if you are in leadership, you are even supposed to be more responsible than the ordinary citizens. So if anything, the citizens should demand more responsibility on the leaders than on the poor. But we are fond of excusing the rich and busy pointing fingers at each other, condemning each other, judging each other. No. HH must go to court and let the court judge him. Let the court judge him. I want to make sure, I want HH. So those who like to insult, those who like to say whatever it is, I don't care. You can call me whatever you want, you can say whatever you want, it's okay. It's okay. What I want is to make sure that only the right people, only good people are on the ballot. I don't care that Kwashala Pufama being a Shon Tembo. So that in Kamropole can get on the State House. I don't care. That's just what it is. I have also taken interest in the Sun Hotel. I have also looked at it. Then last week, I was busy when I couldn't fly to Ethiopia. They sent money because I wanted to go to Ethiopia. Now, because of the war, I couldn't go. So that money, I wanted to use it to go to Mauritius. To go and check on Mosotunya. Because Mosotunya, it is saying that the owners of that hotel are in Mauritius. Because from where I stand, I think that company is just a fictitious company. That Mosotunya belongs to HH and is hiding through these companies which are created in safe havens. Unfortunately, I couldn't go because when I tried to check on the flights and everything, it's difficult to fly into Mauritius because of COVID. But I'm still looking around. I want to make sure that I go and get one piece of evidence out there so that it also becomes part of the indictments of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Ishimupatire mdala wandi, ishimupatire. It's the evidence that I'm looking at. And even yourselves, if you are objective, you will see that indeed there is something wrong here. I'm sure you would also want to know about these two NRCs. I'm sure you want to know. Who do they belong to? What's going on? I'm sure you want to know. How come he changed his names? I'm sure you want to know. I'm sure you would also not want to be deprived of a house like Mr. MJ. I'm sure you wouldn't want that. These people are suffering. What about this farm? How is it that Mr. Hichilema is owning this farm? Which was under Lima Bank, which was privatizing? How? I'm sure these are genuine questions that we should ask Mr. Hichilema. In all fairness, we should ask him. And if he can even be cleared by the courts, even better. Even better. So me, Mr. Hichilema, you should actually thank me. You should be happy with me that I'm taking him to court. Because if he's innocent, the courts will exonerate him. He shouldn't even be threatening me. Why is he threatening me? Stop threatening me, Mamdara. Take me as somebody who is helping you to clean you. To clean you, if you are indeed clean. But if you are dirty, you don't belong in politics. You belong to jail. That's what it is. That's what it is. That company, Sun Hotel, we need to be clear what's going on there. We need to be clear. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, bafwile basamba mumenshi aya kweba yadaya achani the Holy Spirit if they have a samfia before he comes to do politics. At the moment, in my opinion, the man, no, inshallah, then in Japan too, I would have used my whatever, but I know I want to respect, I want to be media friendly. But surely the man is not clean. As far as I'm concerned, he's not clean. And I'm not going to sit back. So please, I'm insisting, Zambians, we don't come and start saying, no, this is a ploy for HH not to stand. What? Edgar Lungu is just a suspect as Hakainde Hichilema in my eyes. If I catch him, if I can catch Edgar Lungu on something, I will even be happy. Because it will make my job easier. And if you say you are eliminating your friends so that you can become president, yes, I'm eliminating them based on their deeds. Based on their deeds. It's okay. It is allowed. It is like when you want to run and somebody now with my drugs. Would you allow to compete with that person? No. This is the situation. Bad enough my drugs. I mean, bad enough my drugs. I mean, HH. If I would push fast, if I try print my t-shirts, when I'm t-shirts, they are far because of the money that they have acquired. I don't want that. They want to bring that at the same level. I'm leveling the playing field. This is basically what I'm doing. So, and others who come up to say, no, it's political, whatever. No, it's because of Bill 10. I mean, come on. Me, Bill 10, I am happy with it because Bill 10 gives me an opportunity to petition my HH. If I can find him guilty on one of these, with the Article 52, I'll manage to put an injunction against him. And I intend to do it until all these issues are cleared. Mr. HH will not stand. I will not allow Mr. HH to stand. I will make sure I put an injunction until all these matters are cleared. So the better these cases, the earlier they are cleared, the better. Because I am going to put an injunction as long as these cases are still lingering. I will petition, if these cases are not concluded, I will petition to make sure that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema doesn't stand. Vasangwa, he can also go in with eligibility. And at the end of the day, we shall see how things will fall out. I think I've made my point for now. Like I've said, it's not only this which I have a few others that I'm looking at. But for now, I wanted to give you this. And just one case of this. One case of this. Ngayapita. Nishpafita. Any questions? Ngatamumfuile. Mwipushi. Mwipusha wina sana. Ndemiasu.
Number one.
Yes.
Of the two analyses. Do they bear the same name, same date of birth, and the like?
They bear. I don't want to talk too much on that because remember NRCs are private. you see what I mean? All I'm saying is that there are two NRCs. I won't go further than that because I don't want to, to be answering other unnecessary questions that may derail me. Guys, wait. Let's wait. Let's wait for the questions. I will post this video on social media. You will see them. Yes, sorry. I want to answer the question so that you may ever know. We couldn't ask Achan one.
Yes, Mr. Tayali.
Yes.
I'm Tamani.
Yes.
From why?
Hey.
My question is, you've taken an approach, a very active approach in terms of fighting for corruption, as you have said it. But you are dealing with issues that happened years ago. My question is, are we seeing you taking the very energetic approach in dealing with the issues of recent corruption, such as the 42 fire tenders, the ambulances, and the recent one, the COVID-19 funds, which have been misappropriated? Are you going to approach these issues of corruption with the same vigor that you are?
My brothers and sisters in the media, I'll take an opportunity to make an appeal to you through that question. That sometimes we are the ones that propel stories that have no depth. Sometimes we're the ones that run with these stories, but they have no depth at all. They have no depth at all. For example, there is that interlocutory judgment that came out, and the media were covering it to say Nawapi has been ordered to pay. Really? An interlocutory judgment, and you are busy writing Nawapi has been ordered to pay. Now, the issues that you have spoken about the 42 42 fire engines. You have spoken about the ambulances. We can even add the 42 houses. 48 houses. We can even add those. And one by one, we can talk about them. The 42 fire tenders. What evidence do we have? What evidence do we have that Chilufya Tayali can run with to say, what evidence do I have? What? Where am I going to start from? Tell me. Yes, the price is high. Yes, the price is high. But when you go and peruse through the tenders, I mean, even those that competed with these, they are not willing to come forward. What do you do with it? What do you do with it? Because as I've been on that case, by the way. We even went to NRC, to Anti-Corruption Commission, myself, before the story came out. The Anti-Corruption Commission themselves, they came out to say, no, the tender procedures was followed. What do I do? What do I do? Then we talk about the ambulances. On the ambulances, as far as I'm concerned, I went through that story as well. You talk about 288 per unit. It was not 288 per unit. And if you go down to do a breakdown on what was involved, I didn't see even the inflation. But because somebody put it there, 248, and everybody was talking about, no, each unit costed 288. It never costed 288. Each unit, I think, was costing about 135. And if you check on the market, it's like a normal price. What do I do with that? 48 houses. 48 houses. The owner is there. This case is in court. This case is in court as we speak. The owner is there to say, these are my houses. And I built them through the money that was coming from, I don't know that guy, who is actually, I think, a Malawan. He even came in the country. He even came in the country to, to push for his houses. The lawyer that he was using was the late Obdekawe. I even went and saw Obdekawe myself. Just that I don't know now, Obdekawe is late, but I don't know who is handling the case. But these are the facts. So what do I do with that? So even when you are accusing me to say, no, you are not zealous when it comes to some of these matters, what is there to follow? And I appeal to you, the media, that please let us follow stories that have got depth. Some of these stories, they are baseless, they are nowhere. Next question.
And have you followed the drugs and Ministry of Health?
No.
The COVID-19 funds?
Wait a minute.
It's also in auditor's general report.
I see you are very anxious to send me to do this and that. I hope you can also put in some resources. And you also must remember that you're also a journalist. To also follow these issues. Because you want to put everything on Chilufya Tayali. I'm doing my bit. What are you doing? Anyway.
Yes, Mr. Dad, just a clarification. I know you mentioned that it's not about Bill 10, but the general feeling from the opposition is that with the 4th Bill 10,
yes,
which the opposition are claiming that the PF wanted to use to their advantage,
yes,
now that it didn't go through, the general feeling from the opposition is that now they are trying to use you,
yes,
to derail HH. Are you being funded by the PF to derail HH?
Imwe, no. First, are you being funded? Absolutely not. Na panoso na chiraisa. I mean, what I was struggling around, but I have my details. But anyway, issue of Bill 10. Issue of Bill 10. It is a political poor strategy on the part of UPND. Bill 10 is not going to help. The 4 of Bill 10 has not helped the UPND. For example, they were saying, no, the 4 of Bill 10, citizens were celebrating. Did you see citizens celebrating in the streets? It was only Hakainde Hichilema with his lawyers who were celebrating Nama Angry Lion, na 4 cousins. That's all. They were celebrating Nama Hungry Lion, na 4 cousins. Only them. I never saw anyone outside celebrating. So that issue of saying Bill 10 has put UPND in an advantage position, I mean, it's neither here nor there. There is nothing, even with PF Navena, they are just, I don't know. Bill 10 has no consequence because why it has no consequence? A lot of people did not even understand Bill 10. I saw one of these celebrities, you know, who wants to become a politician. She was asked about Bill 10 and she's aspiring. She was just all over the place. And I know even amongst us here, I don't think there are a lot of us who can articulate what Bill 10 was all about. So Bill 10 really has very little consequence in terms of politics. Hakainde Hichilema, I wouldn't even be bothered about Bill 10. I wouldn't even be bothered because it's only him and a few of his MPs. And by the way, not all his MPs agreed with him. And that's why he locked them up. If Hakainde Hichilema had confidence in his MPs, that his MPs did not agree with Bill 10, he would have allowed them to go to Parliament. Why did he lock them up? He put them in under the bunker. Why she also oh, sorry. Him.
Are you funded by the PF? That is my question.
Let me answer.